Hey, my name's Dave Hatter with Intrust IT, and I appreciate this opportunity to raise awareness about all the scams that are currently running rampant as a result of the coronavirus and COVID-19 pandemic. Numerous government agencies, the FBI, the FDA, the FTC, the Secret Service have all warned in some form or fashion about various scams that run wild. Security researchers have shown that in the last few weeks, pandemic, coronavirus, COVID ID are domain names that are cropping up by the thousands, where the scammers are setting up spoofed websites, in some cases that impersonate real websites, using those terms to try to lure you in for malware or phishing attacks. There are phishing attacks just absolutely rampant out there. Barracuda Networks did some research and found that phishing-related scams have increased by 667% recently. So these things are just totally out of control. And again, you've got numerous government agencies who have warned, in some cases, several times about all these different scams. So I thought I'd take a few seconds and delve into some of the ones that are probably the most dangerous and the most prevalent at the moment. And just throw out a reminder as well, the bad guys are constantly changing their tactics. They understand that eventually people get wise to these things and they'll change their tactics. So whatever we talk about today may or may not be relevant in a short period of time. So it's extremely critical that you rely on realistic and relevant information. You stick to government websites like the FBI, for example. They've got some great resources for internet security and how to avoid these kind of scams. And for the health-related side of it, probably should stick to CDC.gov, the Centers for Disease Control, or the National Institutes of Health, NIH.gov. So again, the FBI warned about one particular scam that I think is extremely devious and pretty despicable. We all know lots of people have recently lost their jobs as a result of this pandemic, and I think that trend is probably going to continue as the quarantine continues. And the scam is basically this. The bad guys go out to a legitimate job website, like a Monster or a Dice or a Ladder, sites everyone has heard of, Indeed, and they post they post jobs that appear to be legitimate. So, it might be for work from home program. It could be anything. And then on the back end of this scam, they'll go out and scrape the content off of legitimate businesses' websites. So they might find some company out there that's got a website. They'll literally copy the content, the graphics, the text, everything off of it, and they'll set up a spoof domain with that real company's data on it. And these job postings will link to those spoof sites. So you see this real lucrative job offer. You just lost your job. You need a job. Looks like you can work from home. Seems like a deal that's too good to be true. And that's always the catch. Too good to be true, right? So you click through this link from a legitimate site like Monster. And of course, one of the reasons why they're doing this is because that gives this scam additional legitimacy. It seems realistic because you're starting at a well-known website, but that link points to their bogus spoofed website, at which point they've got you in their trap. So they'll ask you to fill out an application. At bare minimum, you've now given them lots of very sensitive, personally identifiable information, PII, that they could use for things like identity theft. And according to the FBI's warning on this, and I'd encourage folks to check it out at the Internet Crime Complaint Center, IC3, that's a site that is run by the FBI. They say that people have been scammed out of an average of about $3,000 with these fake job postings. So they get you to fill out the application. They might want to interview you online, and then they'll hit you with the, oh, by the way, we'd love to offer you this job, but you need to give us your credit card because you have to pay for training, or you need to buy some equipment. And of course, we're going to give you that money back once you're fully hired and in your first check, which of course never comes because the whole thing is a scam. They've literally got you on the hook at that point. They've stolen your information at the very least, and they've potentially stolen your money at the very worst. So it's a potential double whammy with this particular scam. Again, the FBI has said that the average amount of money people have lost with this scam is $3,000. So it's pretty significant. And obviously the last thing anyone needs during this crisis is to have their identity stolen and or their money stolen on top of the fact that they're out of a job and we're facing this serious health crisis. So I just can't stress enough to folks, you have to be extremely skeptical. If a job seems like it's too good to be true, it probably is. One of the things you can do to try to verify this is to go what's known as out of band in the industry. So when you click the link through to this website, you know, look around on there and then go search for that company and see what you find. Do you find another website that looks very similar or exactly the same? Does the other website have this job posted? You know, while companies can certainly post jobs on something like Monster or Indeed without posting it on their own website, if it's not on their own legitimate website, that's a red flag. If the people only want to interview you online, which is another thing that makes this a little trickier now, because obviously 2 or 3 months ago, it wasn't all that, it wasn't as common for people to do all of this video conferencing and so forth we're seeing now as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. So that's probably a little bit less of a red flag, but if they never want to meet in person, certainly once this is over, if they ask you to give them a credit card up front, buy materials up front with a claim that you'll be reimbursed later, that's a red flag. Another thing you can do is go, again, do your own searching. If, for example, you find a job that claims to be from a company like Procter & Gamble or something, you on your own, open your own browser, type in the Procter & Gamble URL, go to their website, see if you can find the job, see if you can find a hiring manager. It's critical that you don't click the links, call the numbers on these spoofed websites, because of course the criminals are hiding behind those, and you know that's part of their sting. They're gonna suck you in by telling you it's all legitimate. So you need to do your own research. The FBI has some other tips at that Internet Crime Complaint Center website. I encourage folks to check that out. And the Secret Service has also recently warned about just general phishing related to the COVID-19 pandemic. There are phishing scams that just absolutely rampant, and I think you're going to see that throughout the duration of this pandemic. There's an organization called CISA, which is a government agency, the Center for Internet Security, and basically they have also warned about these kind of scams and said something to the effect of, if you get anything related to COVID-19 or coronavirus, an email, a text message, text-based phishing is a thing now, a voicemail, they'll send fake voicemails, or any kind of link on social media that's related to this, you need to be very careful about it and make sure that it's legitimate, because, for example, the CDC is not going to email you. The IRS is not going to email you about your stimulus check. The IRS actually has some great advice on their website, irs.gov, about what you can and cannot expect in terms of how they'll contact you. They will not be emailing you about this sort of stuff. So, you know, emails, texts, anything related to coronavirus or COVID-19, I strongly suggest that you be extremely, extremely skeptical, hypervigilant, doubt everything, trust nothing. In the business, it's called zero trust. And if you think something could be legitimate and requires some action on your part, do not click the links. Do not download any files that come to you via email, text, anything like that. On your own, go open up a new web browser window, go to the website that this content purports to have claims to have come from. So, for example, if you get an email that claims it's from the CDC with some sort of coronavirus cure, or from the FDA with some sort of coronavirus vaccine or something, and you think it could be legitimate, I'm telling you 99% certainty it's not, but if you think it could, open up your own browser window, go to fda.gov, go to cdc.gov on your own and confirm that it's legitimate, because, again, it's so easy for the bad guys to go to a legitimate site like cdc.gov or nih.gov or fda.gov and copy. Again, in the business, it's called scraping. Scrape everything off the site, all the images, all the text, use it to build their own spoofed websites, use it as content for emails they're going to send you so that they look much more realistic. They seem legitimate, and obviously that's part of their way to suck you in and convince you that you should click that link that's going to give you ransomware, or take you to a website where they steal your credentials and then use that to foist God only knows what other types of fraud on you. So I just can't stress enough. These things are real. Do your own research. Don't just take my word for it. The warnings continue to come out from the U.S. government. The warnings continue to come out from nerdy security folks like me. Unfortunately, you really got to be on your game and be super skeptical and don't trust anything at this point.